Well, we have ourselves a bunch of Montreal Canadiens stuff, and I like to make these kinds of videos sometimes too because, you know, with the lack of any significantly huge, amazing, big story, all we gotta do is take a look at some of the smaller things and compile it into one video. Quite frankly, the Montreal Canadiens have been bad the past little while here, and yesterday, in a 4-0 shutout loss against the Minnesota Wild, I think a lot of Canadiens fans started to realize, hey, this team has the capability of really not showing up for their goaltender. Because yes, the Habs lost 4-0 against Minnesota yesterday, and the Habs goaltender who took the L was not Sammy Montembeault, it was Yakemchuk, and that, of course, is the biggest defeat that Dobeš has had in his NHL career thus far, which is not bad. Like, I mean, I'm not saying this in a way to tear the guy down or think about him as a bad goalie. No, he's fine. I mean, he's good. But the loss yesterday, I think, proves to a lot of people that the Montreal Canadiens as a team can, and they have done it for a good chunk of this season, not play for their goaltenders the right way. They have the capacity of letting their goalies down. And that's not to take away anything from the Minnesota Wild. The Wild are fine. They were pretty good too. But yesterday, the Montreal Canadiens, I mean, think about the opportunities, think about the possession, think about the shots. The Habs had 19 shots against Minnesota. And the Wild, I think they played the other day as well. So they were coming into a back-to-back situation. Toronto and then Montreal. The Habs had all the advantages here, but they ended up not doing anything. And one of the best moments, actually, of the season came out of this game, in a Canadiens loss, mind you, but hey, guess what? It was Marc-Andre Fleury for Minnesota, second half of a back-to-back, which is why Fleury ended up playing. He got himself the shutout in Montreal as a 40-year-old guy. And the storybook just keeps on writing itself for Fleury and his long freaking career. What was the stat that they were talking about? Fleury becomes the first goalie in NHL history to have a shutout as a teenager and then also have a shutout as a 40-year-old. The guy is a legend, and the Montreal Canadiens stayed on the ice to congratulate Fleury on his career. They all shook his hand afterwards, and it was a really good gesture, really good show of sportsmanship. Very Ryan Smith, Henrik and Daniel Sedin-esque vibes from the Oilers and the Canucks back in the day. And we actually had ourselves some word from Nick Suzuki as to whose idea this entire thing was. Let's go over to this tweet made by Priyanka Emrith. Take a look at this. Habs captain Nick Suzuki said Mike Matheson approached him at the idea for the Habs players to remain on the ice to shake Fleury's hand at the end of the game. So it was fellow Quebecois Mike Matheson who went out there and spoke about this and who wanted to get this going. Nice to see Mike Matheson be the guy to come up with the idea and just make it a really nice moment for Canadiens fans that were in the building. Sure, Habs fans were pretty disappointed with seeing their team on the ice in yesterday's game. 19 shots and 0 goals, and everybody didn't really look all too great. The Habs got suffocated, but that, I think, was a really nice moment, and you can't take that away from the Montreal Canadiens. Those kinds of things build character. Mike Matheson, of course, one of the older guys on the team, setting a prime example for the rest of the younger guys as to one of the more classier things that a franchise can do. Anyways, post-Wild game, the Habs actually did make some moves the next morning, aka today. Take a look at this. It was Rafael Harvey-Pinard who was sent down to the Laval Rockets. So the Habs, there's a lot of speculation that they might be doing something here. Either they're claiming Adam Boqvist on waivers or Emil Heineman is coming back. A lot of people were going out there and saying, wait a minute, like Rafael Harvey-Pinard, he didn't do anything in the game yesterday against Minnesota. He played, by the way, but he had 9 minutes time on ice. The guy wasn't going out there and doing much. So with that, he'll be going down to Laval, helping out their team. He wasn't really all too productive with Laval this season. I mean, he had half a point a game with the Rocket, which isn't great, but of course we recognize that Rafael Harvey-Pinard did take a long time to come back from injury, so nobody's going to hold that against him, whether or not he lacks point production in the American Hockey League, but still, the Rocket do need some support, so Rafael Harvey-Pinard going down there and helping them out is going to be helpful. We'll keep an eye out for the Canadiens as well and see if there is any sort of a roster move or any acquisition or any return that happens with this organization. Obviously, if everybody plays their best, Rafael Harvey-Pinard is good enough to be on the Montreal Canadiens. It's just, he kind of needs to get back up to speed here. Maybe if the Canadiens trade away a bunch of dudes, I mean, if they trade Evans, if they trade Armia, and whatever, and then they get themselves Heineman back, then there still is an extra spot for another guy to come up, but for now, we just gotta wait and see. We'll keep our eyes out. Now, I also wanted to talk about yet another player in the Canadiens organization. It is none other than Ivan Demidov, because we had ourselves yet another update on him, courtesy of Bob Hartley, speaking out on the L'Antichambre television program. He went out there and said this 2 days ago on the show. People I know who hang around Demidov tell me that he is excited to play for the Montreal Canadiens, that he's excited to play in the National Hockey League, and of course, that is music to our ears. So, for anybody that was going out there and worrying about the Montreal Canadiens not being able to get Ivan Demidov, or that he would maybe stay in Russia, they've been offering him a bunch of contracts to get him to stay, blackmailing him by giving him a lack of ice time. There's no reason to worry. Ivan Demidov will be coming over to the Montreal Canadiens, most likely at the end of the 24-25 season. His contract goes on till the end of this season, which is why SKA has been offering him so much money to stay. And quite frankly, we've talked about this before, but it is kind of like backwards thinking to realize the plan or the strategy that SKA is employing here. Hey, we want you to stay, so we're going to give you a bunch of limited ice time games. We're going to bench you. We're not going to play you in order to get you to want to stay. Like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever unless you are the most short-term minded thinking person on the planet. Like, oh crap, like they're not giving me any ice time. I'm not going to be able to play. Okay, I'm just going to sign. I'm going to stay with them for 3 years, and then they'll give me ice time. Yeah, let's go. I'll want to get more ice time here instead of waiting for the longer term efforts of mine to be justified in Montreal, where I know they're going to give me playing time and a spot in the roster and everything. But turns out, even if Ivan Demidov has gone out there and started rejecting these SKA offers, all you gotta do is look at Kent Hughes, who went out there and helped out his prospect by visiting the team. Take a look at this tweet made by Samuel Thibault, RDS. This was from 2 days ago. This is what Ivan Demidov's minutes, numbers, and everything looked like before the Canadiens visited SKA and after the visit. Demidov had 6 goals and 20 points in 33 games with an average time on ice of 10:48 before Kent Hughes visited. But after? Hey, guess what? The guy has the same amount of points in half the games and 7 more minutes time on ice. He has definitely been in a better position to succeed ever since Kent Hughes and co. went over to the team and sat down with Rottenberg. Rottenberg said, hey, yeah, he's a good, talented player. We want him to be better, and we want him to learn and do all this stuff. So maybe seeing Montreal face-to-face and talking to Kent Hughes, by the way, it was very obvious just watching the video footage itself. It was very obvious that the Canadiens and the guys that they sent over to Russia did not really buy much of what Rottenberg was saying. Like, Vinny Lecavalier especially was looking at the guy like, oh man, like, we know what your game is. You don't have to try to fool us, but you're gonna try. Just know that we know. And, I don't know, maybe Roman Rottenberg didn't want to look like a fool after that. Who really knows? I'm kind of reading into it a lot, but that's sort of what I picked up on from watching the video interviews and looking at the dynamics of the people involved. But anyways, Demidov is getting ice time, and he's rejecting SKA offers, and he wants to come to Montreal. So, that's all very, very good stuff. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below about all these stories with the Canadiens, the fact that they've started to lose games now. They've let in 4 goals against in every single one of these games recently, and it's killing me in fantasy. Come on, guys. Cayden being out, yes, I get it. That's a big hit, but still. Ay, this team. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about them losing all these games, the Marc-Andre Fleury handshake, Mike Matheson's idea, how Rafael Harvey-Pinard got sent down. We'll make some extra videos if the Canadiens do end up claiming a guy like Boqvist or whatever. And also, what are your thoughts on Demidov? Let me know in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.